Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Hockenheimring for day 2 of round 1 of the ADAC GT Masters season 2023. Conditions are absolutely perfect here. The sun is shining, the temperature is building. We are at the Festival of Dreams. We are celebrating 75 years of Porsche sports cars, and it is quite the celebration. The partying has been going on into the night. There has been a massive crowd here over this weekend. Yesterday, the stands were packed. There was a party atmosphere in the paddock. There was live music playing into the night on a large sound stage. Lots of celebrations. The Le Mans 24-hour race has been showing on big screens all around this circuit. But we are here to focus now on the ADAC GT Masters. It is the opening round of the season for the ADAC GT Masters. A bit later than we would normally anticipate for the opening round, but as you are all well aware, it has been quite the winter in the world of the ADAC. The ADAC taking over the running of the DTM, and that has been a phenomenal success already with the opening round at Oschersleben, seeing some great racing. It's meant that the GT Masters just stands a little bit differently in the schedule and in the structure of the ADAC. But it is still a great series, a premier series with some wonderful talent in it. And yesterday, that was proven by a fantastic race. It saw Huber Racing, Christoph Huber's team, take their very first win in ADAC GT Masters on debut with Jackson Evans and Tim Zimmermann at the wheel. Tim Zimmermann, it's the second win that he's had in GT Masters. It was a first win for Jackson Evans. It was a fantastic display of racing. They finished ahead of the Schubert Motorsport BMW that was being driven by Eduardo Cosseteng and last year's junior champion Ben Green from Great Britain. In third place, it was another Porsche, making it a Porsche 1-3. How appropriate is that for this weekend? That was driven by Nico Menzel and Yanis Fischer. You see there on your screens, young driver Kwanda Mokoena from South Africa. He did very well yesterday, along with his co-driver Dylan Yip. They'd never raced in GT3. They've never raced at the Hockenheimring. They brought the car home in 10th place. They were both really, really happy yesterday after just keeping out of trouble, bringing it home in the points. Dylan Yip is the driver who will be qualifying, and there is Dylan there. We can see him in the car. And there on the outside of the car, just giving him advice, is Luca Engstler, one of the team bosses. Liquimoli Team Engstler, of course. Luca, a great driver in his own right, was racing in GT Masters last year, was racing in DTM this year, and passing on his wisdom to these two young drivers, two very likeable young men. Dylan Yip from Macau, Kwanda Mokoena from South Africa. Both of them absolutely buzzing to be at the wheel of the Liquimoli Team Engstler Audi R8. And as I said, they did well yesterday, bringing it home in 10th place. We're about a minute away from the start of qualifying for race 2 of the weekend. It is race 2 of a 12-race season, 12 races scattered over 6 rounds. And 4 of those rounds will be accompanying the DTM package. The next one, well, there is a feather in the cap, because the GT Masters return to the Norrisring after a very, very long absence from the 7th to the 9th of July for round 2, races 3 and 4. Then it's off to the Nürburgring in July. It's part of the Truck Grand Prix there. That would be great. Round 4 is in September. That's at the Sachsenring, the undulating Sachsenring, one of the great circuits on the calendar. Then to Austria for round 5 in September for a round at the Red Bull Ring, again with the DTM package. And then it all comes to a close. We come back here to Hockenheim for the season closer in October, races 11 and 12. That is the winning car from yesterday. It was Tim Zimmermann who did the qualifying yesterday. That means it's Jackson Evans from New Zealand who will be in the driving seat for the qualifying session this morning. And is it possible that they could give Huber Racing their second win. It's quite unusual to get back-to-back wins in ADAC GT Masters, and it's going to be made even harder because of the success penalty, and it doesn't apply for qualifying, but in the race later on, Jackson Evans and Tim Zimmerman will be carrying an extra 20 kilos. You can see the points there. That's just confirmation of yesterday's, really. 27 points to Zimmerman and Evans, Kosseteng and Green with 20. So Zimmerman and Evans will be carrying an extra 20 kilos in the race. Ben Green and Eduardo Kosseteng will be carrying an extra 10 kilos on account of coming second. And Janis Fitcher and Nico Menzel will be carrying an extra 5 kilos on account of coming third. The success penalty applied for the next race only. Also, some changes to the balance of performance overnight. The SRO balance of performance that is used very successfully to level up the playing field. BMW, Lamborghini, Porsche all remain the same, but Audi and Mercedes both get to drop 10 kilos. So it means that the Mercedes is now 1,315 kilos minimum weight, and the Audi is 1,300 kilos minimum weight. So maybe a bit of an advantage in their direction. It has to be said, the Porsches and the BMWs were very much dominating proceedings yesterday. None more so in the hands of Kim Louis Schramm in the FK Performance BMW. He was very impressive with his move to take the lead. It was such an exciting race, and one that we will look back on for a time to come. Really a classic race. Just because we haven't got a field of 30 cars doesn't mean we can't put on good racing, and we proved that yesterday. So you can see cars out on track at the moment, just sighter laps, checking systems, installation laps. You saw the view on board with Elias Zeppelin just now. He's racing the Mercedes AMG for Team Landgraf along with Salmon Ovega. They were looking very rapid yesterday. Salmon Ovega had a poor start, but then came back through the field. But damage, talking to Elias Seppänen yesterday, and I think maybe it was debris out on track, but broke the steering, the Mercedes AMG retiring, and they scored no points. They were the only non-finisher yesterday, so they've got a lot of work to do today. They were very frustrated. Elias Seppänen was the fastest man in all the free practice sessions, over all of them on Friday. Was looking very rapid and was very disappointed. We keep an eye on him during this qualifying session today. He is going to be qualifying the car because it was Salmon Ovega who qualified it yesterday. So keep an eye on Elias Seppänen, because I think he will be towards the top of the timesheets. Talking of qualifying, well, yesterday it was Benjamin Heites who started on pole position. Eventually, he, along with co-pilot Marco Mappelli, came home in 8th place. That was as a result of a collision which saw damage to the GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghini. Had to come in for a tyre change. Did a good job fighting back through the field, but only to 8th place. But the pole time that was set by Benjamin Heites yesterday was a 1:37.358. That was a very quick time, and it is in fact a new track record in GT3 racing. It beats a 6-year-old record that was set by Philip Eng here at the Hockenheimring, and 1:37.358. That is the benchmark that they're going to be looking for today. Well, the conditions are pretty ideal. Temperature is 22.9 degrees centigrade. The track temperature is 31.8. As with yesterday, we'd probably expect the track to get quicker and quicker as this session progresses. So, as with yesterday, it'll probably be the last 5 minutes of the session where it all happens and it all kicks off, and the times start tumbling down. Easy for me to say. So this early part of the session, very much drivers just getting out there and getting a banker laps in and getting a feel, checking the systems on the car, and just making sure everything's working. You can see just running around and then back into the pits. This Hockenheimring circuit, as we look at Dylan Yip, his first ever qualifying session in GT3 and in ADAC GT Masters. That's a great view on board with him. The circuit we're at, the Hockenheimring, is 4.574 kilometers around. That's 17 turns, 9 to the right and 8 to the left. So it is a medium length circuit, little to no undulation. In fact, I would say no undulation whatsoever. We're in the Rhine Valley near Hockenheim in Baden-Württemberg. And it is a wonderful circuit. As with all race circuits, it's divided into 3 sections, section 1, 2 and 3, and they are represented by the little boxes that you can see underneath the clock at the bottom of your screens. The colour of the box will give you an indication of how well the driver is doing. If the box turns purple, it means that in that sector the driver has been the quickest of anybody else. If the box turns green, it means the driver has set a personal best time, and if the box stays grey, it means that it is neither of the above. At the moment, Dylan Yip is purple in every sector, but that's not really indicating anything. That is not a representative time. He is just the quickest person to have circulated at the moment. We are expecting to see lap times into the 1 minute 37 seconds towards the end of this session, so still an awful lot to do. But Dylan Yip, quite important for him, a driver who is absolutely brand new to this kind of racing. Important for him to get experience, spend time behind the wheel, which I think it's probably a fairly nerve-wracking. I spoke to Luca Engsler, and he and the Engsler team had said they didn't want to bring these drivers through TCR or GT4. They wanted to get them into the GT3 seat, get them trained up and get them into racing scenarios. And it's quite a steep learning curve. It's a massively steep learning curve because these GT3 cars take an awful lot of controlling, and it's not the work of a moment learning to drive one of these. The Audi, which is 5.2 litres, 585 horsepower, 6-speed sequential gear shift. That car takes an awful lot of handling, so Dylan Yip and Kwanda Mokoena have a lot of work to do as they just get to grips with driving that car. Just coming up behind the number 24 car, and that is Jonas Karklees. There's a name that will be familiar to anybody who has watched TCR Germany over the last couple of years. Jonas Karklees has featured very prominently in TCR Germany, and he, along with co-pilot Jonas Galginis, are now into the GT Masters in the Jutta Racing Audi R8, and really good to have Jonas Karklees on the grid. Another driver along with Jonas Galginis who have an awful lot of learning to do, because the Audi R8 Evo 2 is a little bit different to the Hyundai TCR that they were racing last year. So again, a lot of work to do there as they learn the ropes in ADAC GT Masters. Dylan Yip doing what he needs to do, really, just plugging away, putting the laps in, getting the experience. The tyres are limited, so there are no tyre changes. Teams are allowed 3 new sets of tyres per weekend, and they have to think very carefully about when they are going to use them and strategically what is the best way to use them. And of course, in the race, no tyre changes, and whatever state the tyres are in when the drivers come in for their pit stop and driver change, well, those tyres are handed over to the teammate and they have to inherit them, flat spots, wear and all. So looking after the tyres, learning tyre management is very, very important. You can see Dylan Yip's just turning the wick up a little bit now and just working at the wheel, getting some experience, some great view on board, and you can see he's actually starting to push a little bit now as he circulates around turn 16 and turn 17 and out on to the pit straight. Now this is the first lap of really giving it a bit of a push, still a little bit off what we would expect, a 142.348. To remind you, yesterday 137.358 was the pole setting time. You see how far off the line Dylan has gone there, over the line, and I would say track limits might be an issue. I don't think he gained much of an advantage going all the way out there, but track limits definitely are an issue here at the Hockenheimring, especially into track 1, and we saw several times cancelled yesterday because of exceeding track limits on turn 1. And in fact, Dylan Yip did exceed track limits on that corner you just saw, turn 11, and the lap time has been cancelled by our race steward. So very important to keep it between the white lines, and that's all part of this steep learning curve for Dylan Yip and Kwanda Mokoena. There is a legend in the world of Porsche and in the world of GT3 racing, Sven Muller in the Team U Sport Wagen Technique Porsche. Team U Sport Wagen Technique, they were in GT Masters last year, very successful race winners, and they are back here again this year, very much as contenders for the championship, and with Sven Muller at the wheel, his co-driver Finn Gersitz, a driver, another one who has come into GT3 racing. He's come from prototype, so a very different kind of racing, and Finn Gersitz learning all the time. Did a good job yesterday, but was caught up in controversies. Ended up picking up a penalty, but finished in 5th place as we continue to focus on Dylan Yip. Pushing and using a little bit of the runoff area once again. But I expect the car that we're riding on board now to be somewhere near the top of the timesheets when this session finishes. We're well over the halfway point at the moment. Our fastest time is a 1:43.092 with Dylan Yip, but I am expecting that to come tumbling down in just a few moments as we look at yesterday's winning car. The Huber Racing Porsche 911 GT3R with Jackson Evans at the wheel. It was Tim Zimmerman who qualified the car yesterday, and it's Jackson Evans who is qualifying it today. You can see that he's done a personal best in Sector 1. He goes very wide, and that will have got dirt on the tyres. It didn't look like it's done any damage, but you have to be very careful. These cars have splitters on the front. If you damage the splitter, your session is pretty well over because you lose so much downforce and grip. And Jackson Evans out of the final turn, again running very wide. He crosses the line. Let's see what he does. A 1:39.662, so that is the first representative time. It's still some 2 seconds off yesterday's pole time, and I should think that bit there probably accounts for a fair bit of it. Getting the gravel onto the tyres, getting off the racing line, then a bit of grass track as well, and then back on we come, and that would have not done him any favours at all. So now we've got a few more cars out onto the track. It is Jackson Evans who's at the top with a 1:39.662. But with less than 7 minutes remaining, the times are now going to start tumbling. It's Ben Green who is the quickest in Sector 1 in the Schubert Motorsport BMW, the number 20 car that he is sharing with Eduardo Cosateng. And he and Eduardo getting on very well as a partnership. Eduardo very much learning from Ben Green, who has a lot more experience, particularly in the Schubert BMW. A 2 times race winner. Remember, he won back-to-back last year at the Red Bull Ring. And he, quickest of anybody in Sector 2, the Sector 1 time that he did set has now been eclipsed by Igor Velilko. So the BMWs both looking very strong indeed. Let's just see what Sven Muller can do as he comes across the line. Let's see where he stops the clock. 1:37, 1:38, still in the 1:39. So we're still a little bit off yesterday's times. Going to be interested to see what Ben Green can do as he crosses the line here. First into the 1:38s. 1:38.342 to Ben Green. So there's a marker that's been laid down. Still a little over a second slower than yesterday's pole time. Jackson Evans now to the top, shaving another 2/10 off that 1:38.181. So he's got a clean lap in. He's strung it all together as we now look at Arjun Maini in the HRT Mercedes, the Haupt Racing Mercedes driver who fared well yesterday. Let's have a look here at Igor Velilko. This was looking quick. It's quite wide out of 17, but all good. Now he crosses the line. What's he going to stop the clock at? A 37.8. First into the 37s. A 1:37.8. Also into the 37s, Arjun Maini in the Mercedes. So that BOP adjustment has helped, doesn't it? 1:37.988 for him. But the benchmark at the moment, Igor Velilko. But now it's the time for Lamborghini to strike. Marco Mappelli in the Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. He was the quickest of anyone in Sector 1. But Igor Velilko has just eclipsed that. So let's see what Marco Mappelli can do. Out across the line he comes. This has got to be into the 37s, surely. He's still got a few seconds left on the lap. We're looking at Elias Seppänen in the number 48 Team Landgraf Mercedes. So drivers are now getting quicker and quicker. The quickest in Sector 2 is Ben Green as he's going purple, but that is now eclipsed by Arjun Maini. So the time's tumbling. Velilko going quicker and quicker. I'm very keen to see what Mappelli can do. A 37.675. So yes, it was into the 37s, a 6.75. Still 0.3 slower than yesterday's pole time, but now keep an eye on Arjun Maini and Igor Velilko. Arjun Maini into the final stages. We're on board with Igor Velilko, the driver who took over in Kim Louis Schramm yesterday. And look at this, Arjun Maini, 137.359. And that is a 1,000th of a second slower than yesterday's pole time. How close is this? Now, what's Velilko going to do in the BMW? Out he comes, crosses the line at 137.929. So didn't quite string it all together. He had some fast sectors, but couldn't hang them all together. Now, Marco Mappelli, 3.5 minutes of this session remaining. The times are tumbling. The benchmark is 137.359, and that's to Arjun Maini. Marco Mappelli second, a 137.675. Marco Mappelli once again quick in Sector 1. Let's see what Elias Seppänen can do. He was frustrated at not being able to show what he could do yesterday. He's going to stop the clock at 137.284. That is a new lap record. Elias Seppänen, the fastest GT3 car to have ever been round the Hockenheimring. Elias Seppänen, a 137.284. He will be delighted with that. Now, can anybody do anything about that? Less than 3 minutes remaining. It's Elias Seppänen who has provisional pole position. Sven Müller, another lap record, 137.088. Are we going to be into the 36s? It's looking a possibility. Sven Müller in the Porsche, 137.088. We knew he was good, didn't we? So Müller setting a real benchmark here. Igor Velilko continuing on his way. So Igor Velilko, how is that? He was in pole position, provisional pole a while ago, now down in P7. Just shows you how quickly the track is evolving. He aborts the lap into the pits. So it looks like his session is going to be over, because with less than 2 minutes remaining, well, 2 minutes now, he's not going to have time to come out and put in another lap. Elias Seppänen going quicker again, the quickest of anybody in Sector 2. So let's see what Elias Seppänen can hang together here in the Mercedes AMG Team Landgraf car. It's Elias Seppänen, who was so disappointed yesterday, so frustrated. He sees himself very much as a championship contender along with Salmon Ovega. Is this going to eclipse the Arjun Maini time, which is now at the top of the timesheets, as Seppänen goes into second at 137.059. So Arjun Maini jumping up to the top. It's Mercedes 1-2, 137.018. Can anybody get it into the 36s before this session is over? We've only got a little over a minute in which to do it. It's Arjun Maini in this car here, the Mercedes AMG Team HRT. Mercedes AMG being driven by Arjun Maini. He's quickest of anybody in Sector 2. His Sector 1 time, 21.273, was about a 10th slower than the best time. So what can he do in this last sector? Can he improve on his time? It's a 136.961. That is a phenomenal time. 136.961. And that is another lap record. The records are tumbling here at the Hockenheimring in these perfect conditions. Now, can Sven Müller do anything about it? It's a personal best in Sector 1. Let's see what he can do as he continues on this lap. I did not expect to see the times into the 1:36s when I got out of bed this morning. But hey, look at that, 1:36.961. Now Sven Muller just going wide and backing off there. So it looks as though he is not going to be eclipsing that. This is Nico Menzel, yesterday's third place finisher. The clock strikes 0, so any cars that are on a lap are able to continue them. Nico Menzel, his personal best in Sector 1, but nothing too spectacular in Sector 2. He's currently lying in 10th place. Surely, though, this is going to be an improvement. Out across the line he comes. And is he going to improve on 10th place? He's into the 38s, and no, he remains in 10th place. It's Arjun Maini, 1:36.961. Let's just see if there's anybody else going to cross the line and eclipse that. It doesn't look like it at the moment. There's Ralph Aron, who shares with Alain Valente in the other Haupt Racing Mercedes. And that time, well, where is he at the moment? In P7. So Ralph Aron just trying to improve on that. But he's got this lap to finish. You can see from the graphics, Sector 1. Well, it wasn't dreadful, but it wasn't the best. And it was a personal best in Sector 2. So Ralph Aron, he's in P7 at the moment. Will he improve on that as he crosses the line? And Ralph Aron is still in P7. So it's gonna be Arjun Maini who starts the race this afternoon from pole position with Elias Seppänen alongside. It will be an all Mercedes front row. Oh, how things change overnight. Sven Muller third, Marco Mappelli in fourth, so it'll be a Porsche and a Lamborghini. Then yesterday's winner, Jackson Evans, will be in fifth, ahead of Ben Green in the BMW, Ralph Aron in the Mercedes, Igor Velilko also in a BMW, and then Jonas Karklees in the Audi. So the Audi's still struggling a little bit towards the back. Nico Menzel in the Porsche and Dylan Yip in the Audi. What a phenomenal time from Arjun Maini, the only driver ever to have got into the 1:36s in GT3 racing here at the Hockenheimring, and that is an incredible time. That is getting on, well, it's 0.4 of a second quicker than yesterday's pole time. The track has evolved. There's a lot of rubber down. Conditions are beautiful and perfect for a hot lap. But still, Arjun Maini for Haupt Racing taking pole position here at the Hockenheimring for race 2. Jump ahead of ourselves. Race 2 of the season. And that will be spectacular indeed this afternoon. Mercedes versus Mercedes. Arjun Maini, who also races in DTM. He knows his way around the Hockenheimring. He knows his way around a Mercedes AMG. And he will be the driver who leads the field across the line when the race starts this afternoon. There is your confirmation. Arjun Maini ahead of Elias Seppänen, Sven Muller, Marco Mappelli, Jackson Evans, Ben Green, Ralph Aron and Igor Velilko rounding out the top 8. And then it's Jonas Karklees, Nico Menzel and Dylan Yip who round out the rest of the field. Not a massive field of cars, but you only need 2 cars for a good race. Yesterday was spectacular. Today, well, if it's anything like yesterday, it will be a wonderful race. Let's see some slow-mos of Sven Muller, who was third for Team Use by Race Motion, to give them their quite correct title in the Porsche 911, celebrating the Festival of Dreams here at Hockenheimring. Elias Seppänen, the Landgraf Motorsport driver who showed so well last year in the Mercedes AMG GT3, looking to do it all again this year. The driver from Finland finishing second in qualifying and will start on the outside front row. But the pole sitter for this afternoon's race, Arjun Maini, the first ever Indian driver in ADAC GT Masters for Haupt Racing in the Mercedes AMG GT3. So there you see the confirmation and points being awarded. So it's 3 points go to Arjun Maini, 2 to Elias Seppänen and 1 to Sven Muller. Of course, points awarded in qualifying, and that is the updated point standings at the moment. So Elias Seppänen along with Salman Vega will be very pleased to see their points getting on the board after yesterday's disastrous race. So they get some points there as well. You can see the rest of the points scrolling through. We are set fair, the conditions are perfect, there is no rain expected, the skies are blue. This afternoon is going to be quite the race. It will be race 2 of a 12 race season. Will it be Arjun Maini? Will it be Elias Seppänen? Or maybe Jackson Evans will come through? We'll find out. See you at about 1 o'clock this afternoon local time. We'll be on air from about 1:45 and we'll see you then. Bye bye.